Number three is the aspirations of clarity and the transparency. As we all know that in Sharia, we avoiding the dispute actually is one of the objective. We try to avoid the dispute. That is why in Islam, we have the concept of khiyar, for example. Because the concept of khiyar give us the meaning and the objective to say that we want to avoid any dispute in the future. And even if there is a dispute, there's solutions toward the dispute, and at the end of the day, the people will be back in neutral. So that's the objective of Sharia. Even for more than that, in Islam also have the sulh, the concept of arbitration, to show that the ultimate objective of this to minimize dispute actually is to achieve the clarity and transparency. Why I'm saying so, because once we have more clarity and transparency in place, we can ensure that we can minimize any dispute in the future. Dispute actually something is exposed. We want to do it pre before it happened. We must make sure that there is no element of dispute before it happened. So that is why in Islam, putting as clarity and transparency actually is most important. This is also mentioned by Ibn Ashur. Any clarity must be given to the transaction to make sure there is no dispute in the future. Some of the parties in the transaction somehow in the form they want to do, for example, yes, we do buying and selling, but at the end we don't know what is the intentions of having that kind of transaction. So at the end of the day, putting everything on the table as a clarity actually is the most important part, and this is what we want to encourage, and one of the aspirations we want to have in the financial transaction itself. So under the aspiration number 3 in relation to the Islamic capital market, we have two principles. Number one is adhering to the validity and objective of the contract. To ensure the contractual agreement are in accordance with the Sharia requirements, clear and serve the intended purpose of contracting parties, and this to ensure the contract substance is emphasized over its form. So one of the areas that we are looking at in this document actually is to minimize the gap between the substance and the form. Yes, I think we have in our Islamic finance product, we have few products or few contracts that always been criticized by many. Why they criticize that kind of contract? Because they say that there's no difference with this contract with the substance of having a loan with the interest. So these critics, we must make sure to, I think we want to make sure that anything that we do is very clear enough to put the clarity why we are using this kind of contract. Somehow the people don't understand. When we craft a draft structures a product, for example, we structure it in a way that, yes, this is a Sharia compliance, we can avoid the riba and all those, but the people from outside say that, hey, this is mirroring what the substance wise is not, it same like what with others. And I don't think that the Sharia advisors have avenue to manifest that why we are doing that kind of contract. So this is why this document come on, where are these principles to adhere to the validity and the objective of contract actually is the most important. For example, if you are using the contract of tawarruk, for example, people critiques the tawarruk, but they don't understand why we use the tawarruk, how it will be the impact, and how it substantially contribute to the product and does not contribute to the riba. This is the way this document to show that if the Sharia advisors, for example, in the Sharia pronouncement, they say that, okay, I'm using the tawarruk, then probably the people say that this tawarruk is not clear enough. Some critics given against this tawarruk. So the Sharia advisors can put a justification and manifestation that not only adhere to the validity of the contract, but also to the objective of the contract as well. So that's the intention, is to bridge the gap between the form and the substance by having these kinds of principles. So it's not simply to be used somehow you cannot simply use what we call it the tawarruk anywhere, but you can have the justification using this kind of principle. That is the gist of the principle number 7. And for the principle number 8, to enhance the disclosure and documentation, to improve the quality of the document and the level of information disclosed by furnishing comprehensive and accurate disclosure of the relevant details, risks, terms, and conditions related to the ICM product and services. Enhancing disclosure, meaning to say that, yes, you have a current disclosure, but you enhance more the disclosure, because the disclosure actually somehow is not for the contracting parties, but the disclosure is for the public at large. Because somehow the suspicious always come because of only two parties knows what is the intention of the contract. But by enhancing the disclosure, it can be clear enough, especially when the product actually subscribed to the market, then the product actually is open for the what we call it, the assessment in the market. So the enhancing disclosure is giving more clarity and more make sure that this kind of transaction doesn't have any potential dispute in the future. So the principle number 7 and principle number 8 actually underline under the principle of the clarity and transparency, which we want to show that anything that we do, we must make sure that it's very clear, not only form, but also its substance as well. So it can be justified that way, and it can give more clearer to the market and to the industry in the future, inshallah.